doing? How you guys doing? Yeah.
So I thought today what I'd touch on, because we got some pups going home from Wendy's right away, and I thought, well, I'll just touch on, the day you get the pup, what are good ideas, what are some tips, things like that, just stuff that I've used with new guys and little guys. The vehicle is the big thing, right? Because it's like a brand new kennel, brand new den for them, and so there's a lot of intense smells in a vehicle. And when you first get the pup in, that first 20 minutes, it's a good idea to just go 20 minutes or so down the road, pull over, let him out, and if he's got an upset stomach in any way, he'll throw up there or go to the washroom, and if he's okay, then it'll just ground him back out and he'll be good. And you don't have to have any real stress. It's usually that first 20 minutes, and then if he's got to go to the washroom or whatever, he'll do that. And just low-key stuff. Now, literally you can hang on to him, but you can have a little crate for him, you can have a little box in the truck, you can have a variety of things. It doesn't matter really how he travels. The key is just giving him that chance to get grounded again and have his feet back on the ground. And then the other thing is, don't have him high enough that he can see out the window, because the movement, he'll get a little nauseous. Try and keep him down. So I do always have a wire mesh crate for pups, and I put them in the wire mesh crate. It's tied down and it's got a good solid mat in that doesn't move, and then they can kind of get planted and stay pretty happy the whole trip. And I just put them in and away we go, and stop about 20 minutes down the road, let them out, and then you can drive for 2-3 hours and let them out again. And so now if they're sleeping, keep on driving, but the minute they wake up, stop, because they're going to pee. So the minute he wakes up, just make sure you stop. Now when you get the pup home, of course, just let him be, just let him have fun, let him roam around. He's not going to know the place, so just let him be and just let him motor around. I will say this much though, while you're getting him out, wherever you're going, if you're way off the road and you're in a good spot, you don't have to leash him. But if you can't find a good spot, then you should put a little harness on him and a little lead, and just hang on to him. He'll never have had one on, so he's not going to go anywhere with it, but at least he can stay right with you. Don't expect him to be walking or doing any leash work. He's just going to pull against it and spin around in a circle and try and get out of it. But once you get him home, then he can just relax. And if you've got his kennel set up, a nice wire kennel for him, and you got a blanket over it and a nice blanket in it, a toy inside, he can come and go out of that and wander around the house, and eventually you can put him in there for a couple hours and just let him have a rest. Now if you're getting home late in the day, well, he's probably going to be crashed in there. But feed him when you get home, and just about a baseball, softball, between baseball and a softball, a ground beef, that's all he needs. And you don't feed the morning of travel. You want to travel empty, so you only feed at night the morning of travel. And then when you get home, you give him that, have his water there, and about 15 minutes after he eats, get him outside. He'll go to the washroom again, wander around till he goes, and then he'll be set. And you can keep him coming back in. Now, their pads on their feet are not very hard yet, so short times out, and deeper snow is better, soft snow is better. Hard packed snow is quite cold, and soft snow is a little bit better. And definitely no cement or pavement in the cold weather, because it's hard on, like his pads are not toughened up. That takes a few weeks. So watch his feet. You go out, you come back, you go out, you come back, and you work them pads in. Now, eventually they'll be very good. Now, if it's only 0 degrees, well, then it's not such a big deal. But if you're if you're taking them to where it's wintertime, then you got to watch them pads till they toughen up. They'll toughen up quick. And then the main thing that you want every pup to do is to bond to the handler and bond to the pack. And so it's ideal if that's all he sees for a while, like quite some time. No guests, no in-laws, all of the friends that just give them a break, let them stay away and let the pup bond for that first while. And he'll get bonded to you really good that way and bond to the whole family. Now, don't try and train that first week. Just bond. Just make friends. And then you can start doing little things after the first week. But some of the other key things you don't want to do is don't stop where other dogs stop. Don't go where other dogs have been. He just nicely will have had his vaccinations, and they'll only be the first set. And odds are even high that if he happens to get a mouthful of milk out of his mother, she'll kill the vaccine anyway, the first one. So as long as, we try to keep them away once they've had the vaccine. But you have to wait till that second and third booster are in before you get them around dogs. Don't go to any place where there's dogs, where people go with dogs. None of the neighbors' dogs, don't let them around. Walk on trails that no dogs go on. Don't let any dogs come up to them. And I mean, that literally would be till after 16 weeks. You want to let all 3 booster sets set in. The first one's at 8, the next one's at 12, the last one's at 16. So you should let them all set in before you're really in contact with dogs. Personally, I don't get too worried about having contact with dogs ever, because they're socialized in the pack as a pup, so it's already in them. So it's not like you need to have interaction with other dogs. That's a cult of science concept, and it's not old world. It's not anything I believe in. Don't worry about that. That's cult of science stuff. That whole nonsense of socializing and being around other dogs and being around a bunch of people, that's cult of science. And if you follow that, well, you'll fall on your ass. But don't go down that road. If you have a couple of good dogs that you trust and and they want to get along and they want to play, great. But it's inevitable. Every dog has a crappy owner, and most dogs are stupid anyway. And so the Elkhounds are way smarter than almost all breeds. So you find smart breeds and smart owners, socialize with them, and stay away from all the crossbred mutts. Their instincts are wrong. Their whole life is wrong. Everything about them is wrong. So keep them away from your dog. And then just let your dog develop. Once he's 6 months old, stuff like that, he can meet and greet whoever you like. He's confident, sure. He's happy. He's sure of himself. He can meet and greet anybody. He never gets dominated that way. He's confident for life that way. And he never has any issues ever throughout the rest of his life. But just one quick snap on the top of his head when he's a little guy from some mutt, and boom, he's dog aggressive from that time on. He'll think every dog's like that, outside of the dogs he knew. So be cautious with that. And these little missies that want to come up and all that stuff, forget about it. Now, when you go back to the vets, be very careful in the vets, because they're all there with their dogs, and they all want to come over and say hi, and they all want to do everything. So be careful at vets. I personally, I don't even let them on the floor. I carry them in, put them in the crate, leave them in the crate, carry the crate in. Like, don't even, we're not there to socialize. And so be cautious around vets. But bones and little things like that for him to chew on are fantastic when he's small. And as his teeth are coming, develop, like once his new ones come in, he's full. They're round soup bones. They're very, very good. He can chew away on them and then throw them out when they get cleaned off. Now, I'll tell you a concept about those bones, because the other day, Vienna, she had one stuck right over her bottom jaw and went right on, and it went on so far that it fell down behind the let me just have a look. It fell right in here. And so because of those two fangs, I couldn't pull it out. I couldn't get it off, and it was quite tight. And she had somehow wedged her tongue down in there. And so this thing was stuck on there, and I mean stuck, and I couldn't get it up to get it over the teeth. And it was a kind of a bone that was pointed. And lo and behold, she managed to stick that thing on there. So anyway, I had to get her to stand perfectly still, and I took the hacksaw and I sawed right along here, and I just sawed like this and cut this side through, and I was so close to her lip, because it was right against her lip. But she never moved. I told her, don't move a muscle, And then I thought, I wonder if I got to saw the other side, or if I can just break it, right? So I took a screwdriver, and I was just trying to turn the screwdriver, and I was trying to spread it open and crack it. And I must have pried down on her lip by doing that, and then she wouldn't let me cut the other side. She wouldn't stand then. And it's impossible to hold the bone, hold her, and saw. So I phoned the vet and I said, is there a tech that can hang on to her for a few minutes? I'll bring my saw down and I just need to cut this off. So they said, sure. So needless to say, once them bones are cleaned off, throw them out, those round ones. Don't leave them around. Now, I had picked them all up, but they found one in the bush somewhere. Now, when you go to start training, do training on little stretches. Don't overdo it, and do it often. So you can do little training often, and pick something that you want to train first and train it all the way. Don't try and train the dog 10 things over a period of 10 days. Just train one thing till he knows it well, and then move to the next thing. And everybody in the household should use the same command and the same signs. So if the sign to come by you is just a simple sign, then everybody should do the same. And if down is, however you want to use down, or if you want to use a sit or a stay, all your commands, the whole family should use the same ones. Now, you won't be training too little of a guy to do too many things at one time, but in short order, he'll catch on. By 12 weeks, they're pretty smart, and they can do a lot of stuff. And ideally, if you can, do map training as well. That should come fairly quick. And also, the other thing that you want to do fairly quick is make sure that you can check him everywhere. You want to be able to look at everything. You want to be able to go between every toe. You want to see everything. You want to go in every ear. You want to look in everything. You got to be able to look this dog completely over. Now, another thing that you don't want to start doing is when you take your harness off. Always use a harness on an air scent dog, never a collar. An air scent dog wants his head free. So he'll always fight the collar. He never fights the harness. But when you go to take the harness off, lots of them start this technique of yarding their head out. Don't let that start. Just make him stand there. Tell him don't move till you get it off. And he should just stand there, and you take that thing off, and he should just stand there. If he's starting that nonsense of pulling his head out, you stop him. You take whatever amount of time it takes to get his behavior to stand still while you take that off or on. You want him to stand still, and he should stand still when you go to put it on, and spend quite a bit of time working with him to get this thing on and off. Make sure that's a really good thing to teach early, and work on that. They'll eat twice a day. Twice a day is good. And when you get them home, you've got to get them out early, like 4:30, or pretty darned early, because they're going to get up and pee. And so get them out early. Now, because you're coming way out here, the time zone's different for you. And so if you're traveling east, well, that's a piece of cake. So not a problem. It's 5:30 there. So no big deal. But when you wake him up, you got to get him out, because he's going to pee within a minute or two. So just have your boots handy. As soon as you wake him up, get him outside. And then take him out late at night before bed and put him back in. Now, shut the water off at 7 o'clock. Don't give him water after 7. And do not give him bordetella. If you want a problem, just give him that. If you're going to be putting him in a shelter, well, find something else. Like, find another place to store him. But bordetella is a bad deal, and you'll have problems with that. So don't vaccinate for that. And they all want to push it, but it's only if you really think you're going to be boarding them. And be very, very careful about it. But don't do it. And once your initial 3 sets of boosters are done, you're done with them. You won't do them again. And his rabies will come after 16 weeks. You'll give that rabies. You'll give him a 1-year rabies. And at the end of a year, you'll give him a 3-year, and that's the last one he'll get. He doesn't need another one. It's the end of his shots. And you can do a little dewormer while he's a little guy, because he was on the ranch. So just use a Strongid when you go for your 12-week. Buy 2 little syringes and give one that day, and get another one in 2 weeks. Give it to him, and he'll be cleaned out, and that'll be good. And the odds of you having to give dewormer again are pretty slim. You might think you need to once, but odds are high you'll probably never do it. I don't know these guys have ever had one past the pup stage. No, I don't think so. But we don't panic too much about that. Dogs don't have any issues with that. So those are the key things. And then make sure he's comfortable in the truck. That's a really good thing. Make sure he's happy in the truck and is comfortable. And then work with your pup so that you can pick him up. Make absolutely certain that you can pick him up, and that you can move him around, carry him and stuff, because if he ever gets hurt out in the bush and you're just then trying to train him to carry, well, that's a son of a gun. So get him so that you can carry him and move him around and pick him up, and he doesn't freak out. Like, he should just chill out, and you'd have a really good setup. But that's the goal. And the last comment I got, if you're getting 2, like a male, female like this, you can train them both at the same time, but split them so that you do work with one by himself and another by himself. And you split them and let him whine like crazy when you walk away. He's just going to make a racket, and so be it. But he should see you go, and eventually it should be no problem. He should be able to stay there. And same with her, like she should be able to stay. So you do that where you leave him sitting right there in his crate, in his pen, and take the other one and go work with the other one and let him whine a bit. And then eventually they'll quit whining. But you can train two just as fast as you can train one. So you can train them pretty much together. And if he's watching you train one and he's there, he's learning anyway. So he's learning the tone and the commands. But definitely you can train them both at the same time. You can hike with them both. You can teach them both to sit. You can teach them both to stay down. But try to do some work individually too. And it's like training for separation anxiety almost. Like you want to train them that it's okay for one to go. So that's like basically leaving them right there and take one away. And just go somewhere and play and do something, let him watch. And then go back, get him, do the same. And it's just teaching them tolerance is all it is. Because otherwise he's just going to bark at you forever. And you don't want him big trying to do that. Do it when he's small. But otherwise you can train these guys to do exactly the same thing all the time. I always train multiple dogs at one time. And I only use one command. I'm not using two hands. I'm just saying sit down. And so they both know. And I tell them both by me, they both come. So that's good. Well, that should get everybody a pretty good little start on their program. But just don't have too many dogs around. Don't be where dogs are. And that parvo is a son of a gun. So don't get caught in that trap, boy, where you get around a dog and he's a carrier. That's a nightmare. So we had a pup in Edmonton. They got parvo, and he had his second booster, but not his third. And he was strong enough, he made her through, but they had him on intravenous and everything, but he made her. But they had been around other dogs, and so those dogs were healthy looking, but they weren't healthy. So yeah, it's a son of a gun. This is Mon, this is Luna, by the way. These are siblings, full siblings. They're 5. This is a matched pair, to beat all matched pairs, these two. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, that's a good video, you guys. Just hang on.